Alright, so this thing will be in line now. So it's time to do the weekly killing of and my internet is apparently terrible again. Oh, it became better all of a sudden. That's great. Now what's another weapon we know? Well, probably plasma. And Hoovu. Oh, Hoovu first then. Oh, and then... Alright. I didn't actually get 100% situated. I did do this in a good order today. Setting up my stuff. Oh, okay. I think I'm good now. I don't even know what was done in the last patch because I didn't even read the patch notes. I might do that first. Oh, okay. Oh, what my suspicion is correct, which was the models getting put in for the other shippos. That was a suspicious. It's like I was wondering if that happened. Then, yeah, let's look at this Lido. Let's see, look how small he is. Look at how small he is. Oh, it looks a little goofy from the back though. Yeah, it's kind of goofy looking. I don't even know what controls. Alright, so. Actually, I know a brilliant idea. If I put it on the racing map, will it be like a perpetual refit, right? Well, it will be if I make the music quiet for now. There we go. Alright, it's time to go looking for patch notes. Alright. So if we do go looking... I somehow don't remember where those go. Aha, here we are. Alright, it appears the patch notes were not actually made for this particular patch. Because Fernando's a TISM, presumably. That's the reason. I'm like 99% sure. So, the one time I have an idea, it's like, oh, I didn't play last Sunday because I was too busy building a battleship and Space Engineers, which probably never going to use. I'm just going to build a new design from the ground up as soon as I figure out how to make the turrets better. Because I can't figure that out quite yet. Well, I think it's not making the turrets better. I think instead of making really compact turrets, which I like that idea, I think I'm going to make the turrets just bigger so that they can be better. Because the main problem I have with the turrets on the battleship is the best way I could figure out to make it better is to make them like wider and fit less guns on them, which is like the last thing I wanted to do. Or make it taller, which I also really don't want to make them taller, because then that makes it so much harder to make them super firing turrets. And already with the current battleship, there's an extremely high risk of friendly fire from the turrets. Even though they can technically kind of shoot above, but it's still not good enough to where it will do it in a way that's not dangerous to the ship itself in some circumstances. And also, I ended up having to redo the interior on the ship myself, but the way I did it was, it's better, but the problem is I need to, like, decentralize the components in it. so that it takes damage more evenly. And I'm thinking that I think I'd rather just redo my process for the interior on an exterior ship that's also better. I was thinking that that's probably what will be better. I think that makes a lot more sense, so. At least in terms of construction goes. Trying to find the thing. Alright. I think this is correct, though. Also, we always use the light, too. She's heavy, because that's the one we use the least, which is ironic, because he doesn't have the new cockpit, which I'd rather look at. So, bomber it is. There we go. Bomber with Hoovu. It's a very mysterious loadout, but it's what I decided. And I wish the radar made sense, though. That'd be a nice upgrade. Ah. Yeah, bombers are fun. I'm definitely way better at flying, like, heavier ships, but that's how it's always been. Especially in, like, Elite Dangerous, it's like, I've always been better at getting the most out of a large ship than actually flying a small ship well. It's like, yeah, I've always been way better at just, like, flying I'm best at flying a heavy ship like it's a fighter than flying a fighter like it's a fighter. I don't know why. This is how it's always been. But you know, the lane's fun. So. It's definitely a lot more fun to fight the AI in a bomber. Because it's, you know, harder to maneuver and whatnot. Even though, well, it doesn't feel that much harder because the G-forces are the same. So it's just slower, like, rotation. You know. And, like, acceleration response. So that means if I go up against an enemy bomber, it'll probably feel a lot harder than it does against the lights, which would be very spooky. So where is a bomber? Apparently they've gone extinct or something. I mean, there's not even one on the contact list. Although I think the last, because I'm trying to think about Space Invaders too. I think the last turret design I did might have been a pretty good one. Oh, that was a miscall. And there was one idea where if I rotated the guns really strangely, it would mean that I only need to put welders in one spot, which would make it an octuple barrel gun. That was an idea I had. I think that was the point behind it, because I was thinking, no, it doesn't help me. Except I think it actually might. Especially because you can use things like paneling to flush it out. So I don't know, maybe I'll try building that design. Using an octuple gun and then but making an octuple gun by rotating the guns, because then that would mean that putting a welders on would be able to repair all 4 guns. And I think it would, I'm not sure if it would make it more structurally sound. Oh, I think it would make it more structurally sound, because then there'd be 2 blocks in the middle to hold the guns together. So the guns aren't holding the guns together. There's like a little bit of connectiveness to hold them together, which I think will help it out, for that turret at least. Or, the other thing I had was, instead of bothering with railgun turrets, I think the artillery turrets are kind of better anyway. At least the artillery gun. I think if you mass them, I think they're probably more effective than the railguns regardless. And they have the same range too, so it's like... It's just the railguns like have, they kind of fit the purpose and function more of an actual like battleship cannon. Even though I think for purpose that the cannons are probably just a better overall weapon. Oh, there's a bomb. It's kind of a looks thing. It's like, I like the look of having like proper looking main battery guns on the ship, and then having the secondary guns. That's probably like my favorite thing. It's just that cosmetic appeal. Although I do like the idea of making the quad barrel railgun. So it's like, I think that's probably the thing. I'll see if that wacky design, because I'm thinking with the quad barrels is, I can get it in a similar form factor to the old compact turrets, at least in terms of the width. And there would be like 1 extra gun too on it. So, because I'd be using 4 railguns, they would actually shoot slightly closer to each other, based on how I want to rotate them. They'll end up being slightly closer. And I can also put a camera on them so they can be very easily used manually, as well as simultaneously. I can... What's the word I'm looking for? I can use the camera as the aiming reference instead, which will make actually setting up the AI on them a little bit easier, because then naming the railguns... Well, making sure that the aiming railgun is no longer important, essentially, which would be kind of nice. So yeah. So I'll just really have to see how that ends up working out once I get around to like building it. But there is still, I still like the triple barrel design, because the only reason I can get the quad railgun design I was thinking of in like the similar form factor is by taking off the side armor, because I was using whole blocks for the side armor. The whole point of that railgun would be, instead of using whole blocks for the side armor, you just use the really thin armor pieces, so you can get the turret in the same size, but you're gonna armor it better from the front, and also a little bit better from the back. But also at the same time, there is the chance that while it is fun to build the custom turrets, I would still prefer someone to just mod proper turrets using the new vanilla weapons, so that you don't have to make rotor-based guns or hinge-based guns, because ultimately it just ends up being really laggy and unsafe for servers to require like so many like moving parts, especially if you want to build like a bunch of turrets on like a battleship. It's like, to me, it's like it's only really acceptable if you're going to have like one of those turrets on a ship, but if you're gonna if you want to have battles with like a lot of those custom guns, it's just not gonna be very playable. Because it's gonna be very laggy, and it's gonna be very likely that something will glitch out and end up like either massively lagging the server or just downright crashing it. Which is the main problem you would probably have if you organized a battle where every ship had like a substantial amount of custom. Because the battleship ended up using 8 custom turrets, which I feel like that's a lot. That means we can really probably only have 2 of these battleships in an actual fight against each other. But it means that I'm sure if the only other custom turrets getting used were really teeny ones, so small grid turrets instead of large grid ones, and those are on like frigates or cruisers, that we would be okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, there is a spooky announcement now. It took Fernando 5 years to write down. But I'm thinking, as well as other turret ideas, is I did mention that I think the artillery cannons are just better performing firearms than the actual turrets. Well, the railguns. So I might try making a design for a custom turret using those artillery. Or just giving up the idea of like the kind of ship I want to build and just spamming the pre-built artillery guns, because the pre-built artillery guns are really good. They're 3x3 and they're 2 guns, and trying to replicate that form factor with a custom gun is actually really difficult. I don't think you can really do it. It's like it's going to end up being bigger, and it lacks the advantages of it being a pre-built turret, which is the lower footprint for like server resources. So if you do spam them, you're completely fine. It's like, and the main advantage is like there's no clang. It's like, I don't know. It's like even if you built a really nice turret, it's like it might not clang while it's in one piece, but if it gets destroyed in a bad way, there's a chance that it just glitches out horribly and crashes the server because it just goes that wrong. Like with a normal turret, it's like, well, you don't have to worry about that. Also, a normal turret has like good health, good amount of health on her. Especially if you just like, it's very easy to attach a welder underneath it. Oh yeah, I'm feeling pretty normal. Apart from like the weather is just making me like, I think what happened to me, which is my theory, was once I did get sick, it triggered my sinuses into permanent feeling sick because of the weather, mostly being cold and dry, which is why I'm like, I'm probably not gonna get over that until the spring, because this happens every now and then, every year. It's like I'll get sick and then feel like it's lingering on. It's like it's not actually lingering on. It's just my sinuses making me feel sick. But there's no sickness anymore. The sickness was like gone like weeks ago at this point. But yeah, I have been thinking a lot about the space engineers because I don't know what I want to do for the freaking turret redesigns for the battleship that's also probably getting rebuilt from scratch. Probably. And that thing was like 6,000 blocks. I end up gutting the old interior, redoing the interior, and still don't like it that much, and have a different idea on how to make the interior when I do it again. I already have an idea of how to go about the methodology, because I feel like the methodology I used was extremely bad. And I think I should have used a similar methodology to one of the first combat ships I made that I never finished. I think that's a way better method for building a frickin' interior. Oh yeah, you get more work and whatnot. Alright, yeah. All the lighting. Alright, so I'm going back to ranting about space engineers. Yeah, but the battleships in a building, it's like, it's fine. It's just the main issue, it's like, well, the interior performs well, it's just not spread out enough. And to make it spread out, because I build it in a stupid way on the inside, it's very, very hard to modify to the point where I don't really want to do it. I'd rather just build a new ship, because it's like, yeah, I could redo the interior and optimize it, but I'm already kind of unhappy with the turrets and want to go in a different direction with designing them than the compact idea, because the compact idea was a good idea. I'm just not happy with, like, the final design. I'm like, I think maybe tankier turrets is what I want. Tanky, resilient turrets versus as small as possible. Which means not even going for a triple barrel, because it's like, well, if I really want a tanky, resilient turret, going for a triple barrel is just actually pretty stupid. Oh, the tournament? Oh, yeah. I didn't have, like, any specific plans for the tournament. It was basically just if anyone asked me, because it's like, I don't particularly have a desire to do anything myself. I was just open for if anyone, like, asked anything or whatever. So I don't have a burning passion to play in it. And no one else I knew also, like, really has a burning passion to be in the tournament. So it's just like, yeah, the only way I'll be in the tournament is like, well, if someone wants me to, I'll do it. That's about it. It's very spooky. Yeah. Oh yeah, I won't be doing any practicing. I'd just be in the tournament purely just to have fun. It's like, I don't really want to try to win that hard, because then it becomes unfun. Especially because it's like, well, now the time has shifted to where I want to build stuff all the time, and space engineers again. So that's like gonna distract me endlessly. But it's like, yeah. Then probably in another 6 months I'll be very, very into RDSs, and then I'll go back to being into FPSs, because my interest in games usually works on a yearly cycle, typically. It's like seasonal. It's like seasonal and yearly. Because this is the thing I forgot about, was like, I had like almost 400 hours in Space Engineers, and it never felt like it was that long. I felt like I maybe spent like 10 hours. But the thing I forget is, like, I used to be playing that game every day on a server with a few friends. It was like every day. Yeah. Because that was what I used to be doing. I do need to clean out the old blueprints, though, because it's like, that old combat ship is just so floopy. But it's like, oh yeah, it served its purpose for, like, proof of concept, whatever. No, Space Engineers, though, I haven't streamed it yet. I thought about it. I might. I don't know. Because the main thing I wanted to do was stream Halo 3, but because of the monos, but the problem is the modders are really taking their sweet time. Some of them are doing a good job. Others are really taking their sweet time. Although I think people figured out how to down patch Master Chief Collection, so I might do that just to play a old mod that was finished at the time, which was the main one I really wanted to play through. And I think I might have actually streamed maybe an hour of it, because it wasn't very stable. It's like, I don't think I ended up streaming any of it, but I probably streamed it in Discord, and that's probably why I feel like I streamed it. Because, well, I did, just not on Twitch. Alright, so like with Space Engineers, it's like, I'm not sure if I really want to stream. It's like, I kind of have more fun just not streaming it, because it's like, I don't think I'd enjoy streaming it. while working on a shippo. The main issue is I don't want people to be criticizing anything I build, even if it's good criticism, while I build it, typically. I think that's the main thing. Especially because I don't build anything that remotely looks pretty anyway, so it's like, I don't have a particular desire for people to spy on what I build. Unless it's like Robocraft or something. Robocraft, I don't care. Because it's like it's so fast for me to build something in Robocraft that's just mediocre. Which is all I like typically need to like have a decent time. It's like I just need something mediocre. That's about it. Yeah, so with the quad barrel design, I think that's what I should try to produce. Is make a good quad barrel. Because it will only be 5 blocks wide compared to 3 for the triple barrel, but the problem with the triple barrel is it's not a very resilient turret at all. Its main strength is how compact it is, which I kind of ruined with the side armor, because it just made it 5 blocks wide, whereas the frickin' quad barrel can also be 5 blocks wide, and be more resilient from the front, and I can give it, like, proper side armor if I decide to screw it. It should just have that. But I think that one welder will be in range of, like, all of them, which... It does mean that the repairing aspect of the turret isn't going to be very strong. But the other thing is welders are kind of a laggy part as well. So if it can work with one, and it will functionally, like, repair the guns slowly, I feel like that's fine. And the main thing that sucks is, like, I work today, then have one more day off, and then I work 3 days, like, continuously. So it's like, yeah, it's gonna be obnoxious, but at least I'll have, you know, good amounts. I have a good amount of stuff that I wasn't watching on YouTube, so I'll have plenty to listen to for the next week. Should not be getting too bored. And oh, I just remembered I did also want to make a small rotary autocannon type thing. And the main reason I haven't done it is because it's like I don't want to be putting in any more rotor-based guns than already exist, which is going to be the 8. And at the same time, it also requires using timer blocks that get like the RPM, so I'm just like, I think I'm gonna end up putting a Gatling turret or wait for a mod that will just make large grid versions of the small grid weapons that are really nice. I mostly really find it very strange the Gatling turret didn't get like upgraded to be an autocannon Gatling, because that's really what they should have done, but with the Warfare 2 update, is like they should have changed how the Gatling turret for large grids to be different. And same goes for the missile turret. Like the missile turret should be homing or something, because the missile turret is actually just completely obsolete now, unless it got a damage buff I don't know about. But as far as I'm aware, it's like the missile turret should be completely obsolete. There's no reason to use it at all. Because before it was kind of the main weapon you would have against large grids, but I have no idea. Days, could you figure that out for me? If missile turret? Oh, I think he actually is dead right now, so hold on. He's not gonna be too much help now, is he? That sucks. I don't know, I'm probably gonna have to look that up myself after. And also the small grid. The small grid, the small grid Gatling turret is just completely useless now. It was before it was actually kind of reasonably effective because it was a Gatling of half the fire rate, but it was turreted. Compared to like the normal small grid fixed Gatling that was like the full fire rate, which meant that actually if you built those small grid Gats on like a large grid, you had like way more firepower, and making a custom gun with those is like a really good idea. So, you know. Yeah, I also have to look at the tournament, because I didn't look and see, like, how many people and teams have signed up. Woo! Okay. So now, I think changing the stuff that we're using. Oh, I gotta put on, like... Will this work? Nah, I didn't think it would. I can just change it temporarily, just so that I don't have to fly back to refit. Oh, yeah, we'll do heavy. Also, the cockpit probably looks new. Well, it's still new because it has the red on it, so it's technically new, so don't need to worry about it not looking new, and that's why I don't want to use it. Because it's actually new. For mechanics, because I never used the heavy. Oh yeah. And we got Plosmo. Oh, you're using an older version of the color scheme before I just made it pure monochrome, I think. I could go change that. Not purely in the mood. I think actually I prefer that gray, because that was like an old color, but I made it pure monochrome with one color. I think I actually like the gray that this is using. So actually I'm gonna probably copy this color scheme back to the other ships. Because actually I like the gray. Freaking plasma. Why does it have to be the way it is? Because I don't like it. I wish it was deadlier in terms of being able to hit something. Oh, also, I was watching the Attack on Titans, the other half of Season 3 and now Season 4, because I put it off for a really long time. Because the story was, halfway through Season 3, I lost interest for whatever reason. But now it's interesting again, so I'm going to watch all of that. And I might go back to one of the other animes I gave up halfway through, because I got bored of it. That's all there is there to take time. Other than say, yeah, it's definitely good. I think the weird thing is, well, I'm not very far into Season 4, so I'll reserve, like, what I heard. Because the main thing I heard was things got flumpy. Where I'm finding the opposite so far. It's like, I think it actually, things got more sensey. Like, the sense it's making more. Whereas I think the impression I was getting from people, because I heard like whispers about Season 3 and 4, was it got more strange. It's like, it seems like it's gotten less strange and more like logical, I think, so far. But again, it's like, I don't know what demons await me in Season 4 that are gonna scare me. So, I'll probably have. Oh, and this Sunday I'll probably end up streaming, because I didn't stream last Sunday because I was busy building the ship, because I just really wanted to very badly. Because that's like the smart thing I decided to do, which was only committing to streaming on just Wednesday for about approximately an hour, because it's like, I know that I can do that and have fun with it. It's always like fun for about an hour a week, which is like what I decided on. Is like, this game will always be fun for about 1 hour a week, and then they'll probably be all I'd want to play for the week, unless I feel like playing more, in which case I'll play it for more. So that was the smart thing I figured out about a year ago. Because the other thing was, I know a year ago I was trying out Battlescape to see if it would also be in the same category of, okay, oh, can I play this game for about an hour a week and have fun with it? And then it turns out, I was not having fun with it. To where it's like, yeah, I just can't be bothered to do this at all. It's like 100, it's like, even if I'm like, thinking of playing frickin' Space Engineers or watching more Attack on Titan, it's like, oh, this is still fun. Like, you know, I'll just do it for an hour, and then I can have the other 70 whatever hours to do the other tisms until those bore me. I was like, yeah, it was very smart. What Gunny thought like a year ago. Really had a good one. Also had some stupid ones, but you know. I'm pretty sure Gunny from a year ago thought like a bunch of stuff was good when it wasn't. Oh, I know I did with Star Wars Episode 8. I know I did think it was good after I saw it the first time. But upon any level of scrutiny that happened afterwards, like, I know the particular thing was 6 months after I saw Last Jedi, and, like, remember being like, I enjoyed it. This is probably a, you know, good movie, not a fantastic or great movie, but it's like, it was a good movie, I'd say. That was what I thought at the time. And then it was 6 months later where I started looking at critical videos about it online just because I was interested in looking up, like, just stuff around the movie, because I was thinking about it one day. It's like, oh, I really love people to, like, talk about Last Jedi, because it's like, I remember, you know, liking it, and then people were pointing out, like, all the flimp that was going on, and then I basically ended up agreeing with it. It's like, oh yeah, so I'm just like, yeah, I definitely enjoyed it when I saw it in the theater, but now I realize that it wasn't actually a good movie. It was a bad movie. And parts of it are horrendously bad, but it's mainly just bad. But the ironic thing was, like, because The Last Jedi was Rian Johnson, is I think Rian Johnson is kind of like the right man in the wrong place. Because the fact that his movie basically split the fan base in half when it came out is, like, the only reason that the DC, well, not DC, Disney, yeah, Disney are just concerned, but it's, like, the only reason that Disney even, like, are trying to make better Star Wars stuff, and I mean, like, trying, because, like, the best thing they put out is Rogue One, which had nothing to do with The Last Jedi's existence period, which kind of says a lot for, like, how much Disney trying to make something good is actually worth. It's like, it doesn't really mean anything will happen out of it. Other than that, it's like, I guess it's Mandalorian under technicality, even though I consider Mando and Solo to be very close to each other in terms of the quality of them. Because I guess the only real benefit Mando has is it's not actively trying to destroy, like, Star Wars. Whereas Last Jedi was definitely actively trying to destroy Star Wars. At least, like, you know, the old conventions of it, which was, like, very counterintuitive to, like, making a satisfying movie. It's like, the reason people like the old movies is because they were like the way they are. So if you're just, like, going in a 180 against the stream, I don't see what that really accomplishes, but, you know, that's what Ryan likes to do. He loves swimming 180 up rivers, which is, like, completely fine when you're making your own stuff, though. But the issue is, like, he had the Star Wars license and the responsibility to, like, you know, respect, like, all the stuff that came before, and he did not care at all. Well, not at all. There's a few parts where you can tell that he actually does, like, genuinely like Star Wars, but in a very weird way. Oh, not in a weird way. I think just, like, in a superficial way. Like, I think he likes, like, he likes the appearance part of it. So, you know, how it looks and whatnot. But in terms of, like, the story and characters in it, he doesn't really care. But he does care about, like, the appearance, essentially. Because I think that's the main thing. Because he gets very obsessed over, like, small appearance details and whatnot. Last time I checked, so. Oh, Daves are back. Daves, could you look up if they buffed either the Gatling or missile turret with Warfare update? Could you look that up for me? Because I'm pretty sure they've been ignored. So yeah, that'd be helpful. Because I was wondering about that. Yeah, but that's like for Star Wars, because it's like, if Last Jedi never was like how it was, like if it ended up being like similar to Force Awakens and it was just a crowd pleaser type movie, is like Star Wars would probably be like way worse than it is right now. It's like it'd be gone. Because it's like, yeah, it sucks right now, especially with like Book of Boba Fett just being like just white noise. It's like Star Wars white noise, really, where it's just stuff happening in like a vacuum, and I don't know what's like the purpose or meaning of anything. It really just feels like stuff that looks like Star Wars happens the show. Because it doesn't like, because if you actually like try to like consider what's like going on, it doesn't make sense even within itself. And it really doesn't make sense compared to like other Star Wars. So it's like, yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Especially like the later episodes where they feel even more hodgepodgey than the earlier ones did. Even though the production quality is a lot better, so I think that's why people are saying they're better. It's like, well, it's better produced. The story, I think, downgraded, but the actual production of it's better. And it actually has like more money thrown into it, so to make it look good. Because I think for like the vast majority of people is when they think something's bad, they only really pick up on appearance related stuff, and then if something is very egregious in terms of like the story, like, and egregious, I mean like someone getting shot through the heart, and then 1 second later they come back and it's just, they're just fine and healed up, and then there's no explanations. Like, that's what I mean by like something egregious. Like something like that has to happen for people to notice it and say it sucks. It's just really egregious. And then a lot of like small stuff, like little details that don't make sense, or sometimes even like medium-sized stuff, like something a character does not actually making sense, but it does like kind of hinge on to make the plot happen and whatnot. So if I try to think of an example, I think actually this is like an area where, not even an example, it's just kind of generally, if something happens that doesn't make logical sense, but in the narrative sense, like if you know what the actual author was going for, but what you actually saw did not represent that, most people will give the author the benefit of the doubt and say like, oh, it was actually really good and he gave it his best shot. But it's really good because I realized what he was going for, so it's good because of that. It's like, well, no, it's not good because it's like he didn't communicate what he was going for really well, and he's like, and you could easily like done a better job. Nothing was buffed and nerfed. Okay, so, there was changes, but we don't know what the changes were exactly. Oh wait, if armor's been rebalanced, it's like, that means we gotta frickin' that means all the assumptions I'm using about refineries, gyros, heavy, and light armor, that means all that might be wrong, so that means I'll have to frickin' go shoot at cubes, probably, before I even do anything else. It's like, hang on. Are these blocks actually gonna be as durable as they think they are? Because that means that reactors might have gotten a health buff. I mean, they were durable before, but they might be, like, insanely durable. Whereas before, they were just like, yeah, it was like, I don't know, 4 cubes of heavy armor's health for something that's 27 cubes of heavy armor big, you know? So... there might be something like that going on for space engineers. Man, I really wish there was a way on the HUD for bounty hunt mode to see someone's bounty besides looking at like the auxiliary menus, because that would really help. I'm just shooting it. Whatever moves, really. Not really thinking too much. Yeah, but that's like the kind of the narrative trap. So I'm trying to think, what's the thing from like Boba Fett? Oh, there's a really obvious one. But it's kind of spoilery, so it's like... Is there anything that happens earlier on in the show or something I can be more vague about? Well, I think I can be vague about the big one I just thought about. So what happens in the Boba Fett is Boba Fett goes to do something that's like very symbolic to like the, you know, the purpose of the story, but it doesn't make any logical sense for why a person would do that. It only makes sense when you consider that this is a story. And that's like kind of what the problem is. It's like the whole point of the story is you're supposed to believe that it actually happened. It's like the point of a good story is you're not supposed to be like, this is a silly story. You're supposed to be like, well, this felt like it could have actually happened if all this stuff was real. Feels like it could have happened to like me if I existed. It's like that's like the whole point of a real good story. It's like you're supposed to be convinced that it's like real. And even if it has like sci-fi stuff or fantasy stuff, the fantasy stuff should be portrayed realistically enough so that you would believe that that's actually how it works. So, you know, when you have people trying to use the Force in real life, that's like a good sign that it's like, oh, that was a good story, because people were so moved by it and were so convinced that it was like definitely a real thing going on. There was nothing that like, you know, took you out of the story. You could actually, it was actually escapism, because that's like the whole point of it. It's escapism. You're supposed to like believe this is a real fantasy world that exists, not be like, oh, this is a story and I realized the story they were going for, so I'll give it a pass for now, because I realized what they were going for and they screwed it up. But it's good, because it's like, because what they were going for was good. It's like, well, it's basically the ends justify the means, like being used in like the context of a story. It's like, well, and I don't like it though, because it's like, well, what about the guy who manages to make something that's very good emotionally and it makes logical sense? Like, what, is he just wasting his fucking time? Because it sounds like he is from a lot of people's point of view. That if you do happen to make a story that is not only like people think it's the best thing ever, but when you look at it like for how well put together it is the best thing ever just from how well put together it is. It's like, well, I guess it's a waste of time for people who make like convincing stories. Is all you have to do is make a story that's like good enough, really. So, all right, that's all I'm gonna strom for now, because I'm busy with doing other things that I want to that aren't important. Other this thing that is also debatably slightly more important, but I have fun.